In human culture and legal medicine, death is treated as a discrete timestamp, the moment the heart stops or brain activity ceases. To a biologist, life ends through a complex, highly orchestrated biochemical cascade. The process begins at T0, when the heart executes its final, inefficient contraction. Systolic blood pressure plummets to 0. Without hydrostatic pressure to drive the flow, the continuous stream of oxygenated red blood cells throughout the capillary beds comes to a definitive halt. Within seconds, 30 to 40 trillion cells lose access to their primary electron acceptor, molecular oxygen. This immediate famine stalls the electron transport chain, halting the production of ATP. These trillions of cells enter a protracted minute-by-minute battle against thermodynamic entropy, struggling to maintain their structure as their energy reserves vanish. 30 seconds after the heart stops, neuroelectrical monitoring reveals a transient, highly synchronized spike in high-frequency gamma oscillations. Even without blood flow, the brain's electrical activity reaches a peak of coordination. This surge is the result of a structural failure. Inhibitory interneurons, which normally act as the brain's brakes, possess exceptionally high metabolic demands. As they fail first, the structural restraints on neural firing are temporarily released. This lack of inhibition forces the brain into a frantic attempt to integrate its sensory and memory networks, creating a global wave of hyperlucid communication. This final, unconstrained electrical surge provides a biological framework for the vivid imagery reported in near-death experiences. At the 1-minute mark, the brain's unique vulnerability becomes its primary crisis. Neurons store almost zero glycogen, leaving them entirely dependent on the vascular supply that has now vanished. Inside the mitochondria, the lack of oxygen stops the shuttling of protons. As seen in this diagram, the molecular turbine of ATP synthase slows and then stops entirely, causing cellular energy production to drop by over 95%. This rapid energy famine transforms the brain into an unpowered grid, coasting briefly on fading momentum before the structural integrity of the cells begins to fail. Between minutes 2 and 3, the cells lose the ability to pay their electrical debts. A living cell invests half of its total energy budget into running sodium-potassium pumps. This animated cross-section shows these pumps forcefully pushing sodium out and potassium in, maintaining a negative membrane potential, the wall between life and chaos. Without ATP, the pumps shut down. Gradients dissolve as sodium leaks in and potassium leaks out, equalizing across the membrane. This mass leakage triggers anoxic depolarization, a brain-wide electrical wave where neurons fire one last uncoordinated action potential before losing their charge entirely. The loss of this charge leaves the cells defenseless. Without their gradients, they are fully exposed to the surrounding environment, marking a point of no return for cellular survival. At T+4 minutes, the collapsed membrane potentials force voltage-gated calcium channels to swing wide open. A massive flood of extracellular calcium pours into the neurons. This influx forces synaptic vesicles to fuse with the membrane, dumping toxic concentrations of the neurotransmitter glutamate into the spaces between the cells. In this network visualization, the dumped glutamate binds to neighboring neurons, forcing their channels open and accelerating a lethal spreading wave of calcium influx. Inside the cell, the calcium concentration spikes from a resting state to pathological micromolar levels. This calcium overload acts as a universal death signal. It prematurely activates phospholipid-degrading enzymes and protein-cleaving proteases, shredding the cell's own DNA and structural proteins. The absence of oxygen collapses the energy gradients, turning the cell's own metabolic machinery into the instruments of its destruction. Biological death unfolds as a series of microscopic dominoes, each one tipping into the next until the system is dismantled from the inside out.